Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing fantasy books. For any of you guys that are big fantasy lovers but you kind of prefer like a gay fantasy over just, you know, your basic kind of Court of Thorn and Roses, Cruel Prince, those kind of books. I personally love fantasy and I love fae, I love different kind of fantasy concepts. So for me, trying to find like a good fantasy book is something I did kind of struggle with for a little bit. However, I have put together 5 books for you guys that I loved. Every single one of these got a 5-star from me and I really enjoyed their fantasy element and also their romance element. And there's definitely a couple others. I'm currently reading, there's someone out there. I'm currently reading a fantasy book as well. It's in my reading vlog. Super enjoying that, so it'll probably make my second list of fantasy books because there's some really great ones coming out at the moment and a bit later this year as well. So I'd love to make like a part 2 to this for you guys. But yeah, so the first one I want to start off with, I won't go into too much depth because I did actually do a whole reading vlog on this, and it is Valium by Ashlyn Druick. So this is like a magic coven family ties based book, and so we follow our 2 main characters, and it's basically like, I'd say, a Romeo and Juliet slash magic retelling but make it gay. I mean, incredible. And none of our main characters die either, so it's not, I wouldn't say it's Romeo and Juliet and that people die, but like the forbidden families, the family wars, like a lot of history is there, and I really enjoyed this book. I also just loved the aesthetic of the book. Like, I showed it in my reading vlog, but we got heaps of like details, but actually setting up the world that we're in, like Ashlyn did such a great job. And it really felt like you were in like a small academia, dark academia town, and you were with these characters. And I won't go into too much detail because I did do a whole reading vlog and I kind of explained all my thoughts on it, but I really enjoyed it. It was a great fantasy book. Really good if you're into, you know, witches and covens and history. It's got some necromancy. It discusses, you know, kind of stigmas around that. So yeah, 10 out of 10, I recommend this book. I loved it. It's also got beautiful cover art to match the beautiful aesthetic we kind of get given. But our 2 main characters, following Cassius and Graham, and they are so cute and just so like, I don't know, just their relationship, it just flowed so well. I really enjoyed it, and I loved kind of the banter they had and the way that they kind of had to fight some internal demons, some prejudices. But yeah, like especially Graham, he was just so like, no, I know what I want you, Cassius, we're doing this, I love you. It was so good. I enjoyed this book so much. I gave it 5 stars, so yeah, I definitely recommend. The second book is The Lost Mage by Alderson. So he has a couple of series, and I've read The Lost Mage, and I also have read, it's on this list as well, A Betrayal of Storms. He has another book series that I also really want to read. It's like The Eternal Night, The Lord of Eternal Night. I really want to read that because book 2 of that is set in a similar world, but it sounds really good. However, this book, so we follow Maximus in this book, and it's kind of like similar to, I'd say, more mainstream fantasy in the fact that it's definitely like twists and turns. Who can you trust? We end up trusting someone, they betray us, and then we end up, so like I'd say the relationship, it's there, but it definitely more forms towards the end, and I won't say necessarily who it is because it does kind of change throughout the book, but it's really good fantasy, and the actual plot I really enjoyed. I thought the plot was really well done, the world building was really well done, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed our main characters as well, and the romance was really good. It was definitely subtle and slow burn and didn't kind of fully take place until more towards the end of the book. But I guess I was kind of setting it up for book 2, which I think is coming out either later this year or early next year. But yeah, that's a really great book. So this is covering mages, and basically Maximus, he accidentally killed one of like the lords on the estate's son, and then this lord tries to make him like act like his son, and then basically the plot kind of takes off from there. But yeah, it's a really great book. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be picking up the second book. Book 3 I have on here is, I put this in another reading vlog, Bad Blood, The Godbearer by L.C. Davis. So I'd never read anything by this author until this book, and it's not something I thought I'd be into because it kind of sounded a bit like there were multiple relationships going on. But I just like, you know, I'll just read it. I loved it. Obsessed. I read it in one sitting. I gave it a 5-star. It was not something I thought I'd enjoy, but ended up really enjoying. So it's kind of hard to explain. I don't want to like give the plot away, but our main character, he has his group of friends, and then something happens. So this is, it's a unique concept. I'll say out of these books, it probably has the most unique concept. But basically, like, his friends do a ritual because they're part of like a coven, but not even a coven. It's like a coven that's been around like thousands of years, and they come back as like different people. And then he gets sacrificed, but the sacrifice goes wrong, and he actually comes back alive, but with this god inside of him. And then basically all these people were like the god's past lovers, and so one of his friends, she was meant to take the place to like bear the god, and then it goes wrong and he dies. And so he did have a boyfriend, but they obviously broke up. However, it's like it's not one relationship. He's not in a relationship in this book. So they break up, but then basically he has like once a month, and he has like sex with like all of them. And I didn't think I'd enjoy it because I'm not super into like, is it reverse harem? I don't know, but like that kind of trope, I much prefer just like 2 people. However, it was actually really interesting, and I really enjoyed seeing the different relationships he had with different people. And I can't tell who he's going to end up with. I have like a bet on like one person, but then he has like different relationships and different connections with them all. And so I'm very intrigued to see who he does end up with, because it does say it is MM. It's not like MMM. So yeah, I don't know who he'll end up with. Book 2 is coming out soon. I think it's coming out in June. I'm so excited to read it. I really loved it, and actually gave me a book hangover, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I kind of want to reread it again. And it was also really funny. It was a very unique plot line, great characters, a lot of humor. I love our main character so much. Ace, he is our main character, and then we have all these other, not all, there's only, I think there's 4 other men. And I actually really enjoyed seeing his relationships with them all, and actually really enjoyed seeing what potential relationship we're going to get, because as I said, it is classified as just MM. So I do think he will end up with one of these people in the next or the third book, if there is a third. However, I don't know who I want it to be. I kind of do, because it does say enemies to lovers. So I'm thinking who I think it is going to be the person he ends up with, which I'm kind of loving, because I love their moments the most, even though they got like the least amount of screen time. However, I want them to end up together. If you guys have read it, I feel like you might know who I'm talking about. If you haven't, read it and let me know. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I can't wait for the second book. And I just love Chase. He was so fucking funny, and he just had like he was like struggling with things, but he also just brought so much humor, and just like he's so witty, and I loved it so much. So I gave that a 5-star. I'm going to reread it soon. And so I think L.C. Davis is Joel Abernathy. I don't know, I can't tell if they're separate authors or if he has a different pen name for like different kind of book series he has. But I have picked up another L.C. Davis book. It is wolf based, so I'm going to read that and I'll let you guys know how it goes. But yeah, I gave it a 5-star, love this book. Next we have A Betrayal of Storms by Ben Alderson. So this is A Realm of Fae book 1. So this is a Fae based book, which I love Fae based things. I've said it so many times and I've said it in my reading vlog. To me, a good Fae book is chef's kisses. I love it so much. I really love like a good developed Fae world where you get to see different kind of aspects of the Fae and the relationships, because they're always unique and interesting. And so Betrayal of Storms, the second book's just come out for this actually, and I'm going to be reading it in my reading vlog as well. So this book we follow Robin, and I'd say it's semi-similar to A Court of Thorn and Roses. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. I would just say it has similar concepts. But basically Robin, he is the last Ice Thorn heir, and basically like a whole plot unravels and all these different things take place, and so we kind of leave off on a bit of a cliffhanger, and then the second book we've picked up. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed our main couple, Eric and Robin. Yeah, Eric and Robin are so cute. I really enjoyed their relationship, their banter, their wittiness, but also like there's a bit more depth there as well, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I gave that a 5-star. I really loved it. I love a good Fae book, and I'm excited to read the second book. So yeah. Moving on, these are the last book, but 2 books, because they're the 2 books that are out for it. This one's a wild ride, you guys. So Dark Flame and Dark Fate, the Flameborn series by Cat Silver. Very unique concept, not one I've seen before. Similar with Bad Blood, it's not a concept I've seen but I'm obsessed with. Again, slightly more different relationships, not just, there is one main one, but it's like a war between, like, not a war, but like a fight between these 2 people. So basically our main character, so Michael is our main character, and it starts off this book, I'd say not like Shadowhunters, but he sees something and then he is like kidnapped by these guardians, and basically he has a lot of what they call the flame in him, and he has to get trained. However, it's kind of like a battle between good and evil. But then the first book we kind of think, so he does have his one main lover, which I'm just going to read you guys the blurb because it's kind of hard to explain. Haunted by the death of his parents, Michael Blakely wants answers. The 26-year-old martial artist seeks the killer, but he also wants to know why electronics short out at his touch and why his libido is a raging fire. So when a group of soldiers calling themselves Guardians rescue him from a black alley ambush and claims out the answers he needs, he agrees to go with them, especially when they tell him the attackers were vampires. But nothing in the super underworld is, oh my god, I cannot read today. Supernatural underworld is as it seems, and when the silver-eyed commander caters him instead, Michael's answers slip further away. Can Michael find safety from the vampire prince who claims him? Can he escape the dark destiny he discovers is written into his blood, and will they break the chains of commander who keeps him captive? For one man he has no desire to leave. So it's like, it starts out, you think you know who's good and bad. So Prince Alexei, I love him. I know I shouldn't, but I do love him, okay, and I really want him and Michael to be together. I love our commander too, but I just love Alexei. And it's kind of like you get like that good and bad. However, the second book, it gets a bit muddier because things fall into place, plot lines happen, and that line between good and bad, what we think it is actually kind of destroyed. And so who we've thought has been the enemy the whole time turns out not to be in the second book. and I just really love this series. I really do. Like, I read each of them in like one sitting. I've had severe book hangovers from them. It's definitely unique and it's definitely a lot saucier, but I'm kind of obsessed with it. Again, it's not a necessary, oh my god, it's not a trope I thought I'd be into. However, I'm kind of obsessed with it. So yeah, I loved both of these books. I think the second one was my favorite because we do get a bit more on Alexei, and basically him and Michael do have like this connection, kind of like they're soulmates, but because Michael thinks Alexei is like the main problem, they're like at crossroads. But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain without just reading. Same with like all these fantasy books, it's kind of hard to explain a fantasy book without reading it, because otherwise you kind of spoil like all the plot lines and the different relationships, and I don't want to do that for you guys. But just know it's really good. I fucking love this book series. So Cat Silver did an incredible job. I loved our characters, I loved the world setting, I loved the uniqueness of the idea of what Michael is, and just the whole world really that we're built around. So yeah, gave both of them a 5-star, loved them, can't wait for the next book, I'm so excited. But those are just like the 5 fantasy books that I hadn't mentioned before besides in like reading vlogs, because obviously there's, you know, Lily Main's Monstrous series, her Fae series. I love both of them, think they're exceptional series. There's lots of fantasy series, so I just wanted to do some I hadn't spoken about before, because there are definitely some I've spoken about a lot. And I want to do like part 2, part 3 to this, because I love fantasy. So the second I find like a good fantasy, I am there reading it, and I'll let you guys know about it if you guys are into fantasy as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Please feel free to comment your favorite fantasy series down below, or fantasy book. I'd love to hear it. I love getting recommendations on fantasy series. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I want to do, there's so many videos I want to do on like different books tropes, but I also really want to do a tier ranking my favorite couples video. So if you guys want to leave down below in the comments what your favorite couple is, and if I've read them, I want to tier rank them as well. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!